Hey, it's Greg here from Kaliba today, and I'm joined by Michael Bosnar, who's the VP at Tufin. So great to see you again, Michael.
Great to see you, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing very well for a Friday. Can't complain.
Yeah, Friday. Lucky it's morning, mate.
So today I was just hoping to get into the mindset of a sales professional like you with a few, questions and answers. A bit of a Q&A. And to kick off, I'd like to know a little bit more about your journey in sales and where you are today.
Yeah, sure. I'll keep it brief because I don't want to give away how old I am or how long I've been doing this for. So I'll keep it pretty brief. So when I first got into sales, it was I guess an area where I had a brother-in-law who was a VP for digital in Singapore. And I admired, he had a really good life and it looked like he was doing very well. And I thought, geez, I'd like to have a bit of that. And I had a good conversation with him, and he gave me some guidance on that, and said that I perhaps exhibited some attributes that would make me successful in sales. So so I pursued not only sales but a career in IT. At that stage, IT was a bit of the Wild West. So there wasn't established channels, there wasn't established distribution. Vendors were finding their own way and defining what channel was, defining what go-to-market strategies they had. It was an exciting time, a very exciting time. And margins were, with this mystery, there's margin. It was exceptional margins being made in the industry. There's a lot of money to be made. So I got into it at the right time. And
what did you sell first? What was the first thing you sold in IT? First product?
It was office equipment, actually, for a company called Alcatel.
Okay.
I'm familiar with Alcatel. So that was, and prospecting was knocking on doors, given a territory, a telephone book, and a telephone, and literally some petrol money to go and knock on doors and sell technology. And I've got to remember, this was the 80s, late 80s.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of people that didn't have anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was incredible. There was lots of rejection, but pick yourself through that. Look, at some points there in my first, I think, I've got a university degree. I did quite well in. I had a good part-time job in the hotel industry. I was doing quite well there. They offered me a management program, leadership program. I had some other avenues I could have pursued, but for some reason I kept pursuing this sales avenue. Gave me a real passion for it. Took the rejection, and my first year achieved club, which was great.
Yeah.
And just kept going from there. So realised, hey, this is just got to do the hard stuff and be prepared to take on rejection and work through that and have confidence in yourself and your product.
Yeah.
And have that self-belief. If you have those things, it kind of works. So from there I went to a company called AMS, which then became Volante. I was one of a number of shareholders in that business. I wasn't one of the founders, but I became a shareholder because I ran their, it was an SI business. I ran the Victorian operation for that.
Mm-hmm.
That went very well, and I was offered the opportunity to become a general manager. I think I was a sales director at 26 and a GM at 30. So the business was a distribution business, so setting up distribution for Hewlett Packard in Australia, which if you go back in time, that was quite a challenge because HP didn't know what they were doing. We didn't know what we were doing. So it was definitely an interesting time. So we established that business, and then we became Volante, which then became a massive SI. We had the distribution business, which was Prion Technology, which became a $250 million business.
Oh wow!
And we did pretty well, but again, it was a time for that sort of success. I wouldn't say we worked hard and we got to where we needed to. So it was great. And then Volante became the biggest SIs in the country. So, and then they sold to Commander, I think, at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But then from there, I went to set up my own business. We sold Prime, so we did well out of that, and then I spent a year there, and then set up my own business called Exceed Distribution. So again, selling. You know, you're running your own business, as you know. You're selling all the time. I go home and I'm selling. They've all worked me out. So we set up Exceed in Australia and New Zealand, and that went pretty well. And I think eventually New Zealand became a $350 million business. It was sold to Data only a couple of years ago. So we were quite happy. I was a founder and one of the directors of that, so that went really well. Mm-hmm. And I guess I needed something to do, so I ended up working for vendors. Thought that was,
the next challenge. Yeah.
So I did that. I started doing that a few years ago and worked with CA, and then a company called Avanti, and then joined Tufin. So and still having a good time.
Oh well, there you go. No, what a great story. I mean,
It's a bit longer than I.
No, it's interesting.
Trying to cut down the ears, you know.
It sounds like a pretty good career. I mean, it's you came from selling a simple product to more complex solutions now, which is cool. It's the evolution of technology. But all that being said, so we've heard how you got into tech sales. So someone, if they came to you at the moment, they've just recently graduated from university and they're looking to get into tech sales, what would be your advice?
I think the key thing, and I've done this for quite a few kids. My son is probably one, and trust me, I didn't push him into this field. I was probably the opposite.
Were you pushing him away? Because my dad's an accountant and he always says, don't do this.
Yeah, it was a bit of that. Well, it was very clear which companies I told him not to go to, not to work with. But he and a couple of his friends, they're all working for large vendors, and they're doing very well for themselves. And I guess the coaching I gave them was essentially, it's a great industry to be in. Mm-hmm. If they didn't have the sales attributes, as in they weren't, people buy from people. I always remember that was the number one thing. People buy from people, regardless of what your product is and everything else. If you don't have that belief in yourself and belief in the customer and want to do the right thing by them, and you don't have that empathy, then just, you can't fake that stuff, right? You cannot. No, you can't. I can't train you on that. I can't. As brutal as that sounds, find another profession. And there's plenty of them out there. So my response was that, and these people had that. So I knew they were going to do quite well, because it's tough. You're going to get a lot of rejections and a lot of, and if they're not self-starters, if they're not able to motivate themselves to get things moving, they're just not going to succeed. And they all did that, and I encouraged them to pursue. And again, it was which vendors do you go with, and there was a number of vendors I suggested. They had good programs for developing young people within the business. And of course, you've got to start at a low end, and you work your way up, and all of them have done that, which is great.
That's a really great point, Michael, because I often, the same questions get asked by me, and I think that as well. It's not necessarily the product that's selling, it's what's the pathway of the program, and what are the things they're going to teach you early on, just success traits, how to structure your day, how many prospect calls you need to make, how to structure the sales, the way you sell or what have you.
Yeah, look, I've been around to a time where, look, if you worked for Cisco in the early days, you didn't have to be that great to make a lot of money, right? If you worked for Microsoft in the early days, again, if you worked for AWS as they were going through their massive growth, maybe not so much now, but in the early days, in all those technologies, if you pick the right one, time and place, right? Time, place, and opportunity, and the technology hits the right button, you're gonna succeed. So I think you can get lucky once or twice. I think you need to rely on skill, and I always look for people that have worked hard to get where they have sold product. It's been good product, but created market for it. Whether they've actually positioned themselves as not being necessarily the leader in that particular space, or it's been a particular market space that isn't acknowledged as yet as being a key market. So people that have done those things, they're the ones I look for. You've just worked for a vendor that just puts their sign up on the wall and they come and knock on your door. They've had a joke about Compaq. The people at Compaq in the early days would just sit next to the fax machine. In fact, the fax machine was one of those things like a printer, right? And it was connected to your phone, and I think prints would come out, and there would be orders, right?
Yeah.
So that's how they would make their numbers. So I think it's picking those right vendors that really is key. Looking for people that work for those vendors and work for those markets that we look for.
Are there any transferable skill sets that someone can bring from another sector, into like a tech sales position that you think that are valuable?
Yeah, I think if you take a step back, I was told that, and it's true, focus is critical in our industry. We have the most shiny toys of any industry, right? And what I mean by shiny toys is, cloud, wow, let's get on that. Crypto, wow, let's get on that. Blockchain, wow, anything. And you can be defocused so quickly in this industry, your head will spin. So the key thing is focus. That's the number one thing you got to do, focus. So what is it? Focus on whether it be your customers, focus on the key value proposition, focus on the right market, whatever it is, right? You've got to focus, and you've got to be the best at that. Because if you don't, and I've seen too many businesses losing money or not succeeding, and salespeople not succeeding because of that very reason. They've been easily distracted. And so I'd say the number one thing is focus. The other thing I'd say is the 4 core elements that I've always looked for. One is time management, attention to detail, communication skills, and people skills. Now, regardless of whatever you do, whatever you sell, you can go and sell, I don't know, books, you can go and sell coffee, you can go and sell technology, but if you don't have those 4 core attributes and you're not focused, you're not going to succeed, right? You're just not going to succeed. And we're seeing too many of people, I've seen too many over the years that don't have those attributes and as a result don't fail. So technology is great because it allows you to fail a few times because there's so much happening, so much growth and so many opportunities, so many vendors out there looking for growth. But don't rely on job hopping, as your career path. Rely on, proving yourself. And look, I don't, and just to again digress for a moment, I don't, when I'm looking for people, I look for people that have been probably in the company at least a couple of years, 2 years. And I'll tell you why, the first year you could fluke it. You could have a great year, you could have time and place, right time, right place, right accounts. I've done well, great. But to do that 2 years in a row, that's when I really look into that and say, okay, well, you might have got lucky in the first year. If you didn't do it the second year, then I kind of think, well, you were lucky in that first year. But if you did it again, well, congratulations, you are a success.
Do you know what I find, and I reckon you'll agree with me on this, sometimes it's the third year. The third year is the one that's really the valuable year, because it's like you can build, you're all excited, you start, you're in the romantic time, it's the first 6 months, you're going for it. You build some great pipeline on your ramp year. The second year, you've got a bit of overflow. That second half of the second year, you might have a couple that still come in, but year 3, you've run out of puff. There's no pipe left, and that's when they get exposed, I think, some of these.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, some of the technologies sell themselves, right? They can only do that for a period of time before some other vendor comes up there, or there's another new shiny toy that the market needs all of a sudden. But that'll be my summary, I guess, on that particular.
Yeah. Well, what's the biggest investment that you've made in your sales career?
I always think it's a great question. It's always it's time, right? I just don't have enough time to do anything, even today. I just don't have enough time. So time, you've got to put that time aside. I know people say you got to read. You should read a book. You should read and I just moved house recently. I'm embarrassed to say how many books and how many reference points and how many things I've had over the years, and they've all been useful. So investing your time, putting time aside. You don't need to. You can attend some training sessions. I attended. I did some great courses overseas. Did some great development courses for myself, and I encourage people to do that and push your business, push your company to take you. They must develop their people. They must. Company you work for, if they're not investing in their people, and when I say investing, putting programs together with external help and so forth, then you've got to question the company that you're joining. But all that aside, it's all up to you. And if you're not putting that time aside, if you're not consciously, putting that effort into your work, into the things to make you exceptional, instead of getting on Facebook or Insta or TikTok or whatever other crap people are onto, just spend that half an hour instead of looking at rubbish. Look at something that's going to help you advance your career. Now, I sound like an old wise man, but I'm just saying to everyone that's do what you want. Go on to TikTok. I mean, I find it amusing, but if you spend more than 5-10 minutes on it a day, I question you.
I'm actually not on TikTok. It's too addictive. I've got enough vices. I don't need another one.
I like the cats. The cats ones. Where you see cats doing stupid things, but But just invest time in yourself. Invest time in yourself is all I'm trying.
No, I think that's really good. I think it's important to attend these courses, personal development, and you've got to remember as well. I mean, your career is your responsibility. No one's going to come to you and say, "Hey, I'm gonna help you with your career. I'm gonna push you here. I'm gonna do this and this and this for you." It's up to you.
No, exactly. There are too many people. I mean, over the years I've had people say that, "Oh, do I have to attend this? I know this." I go, "Really? Do you? You know it, do you?"
Yeah.
I'd be quiet about that one for you, because you're always. I mean, you're always learning, right? Whatever it is, you always got to have that open mind to learn stuff, right? If it's one or two things, great. It's fantastic. Pick it up and run with it.
Yeah. Oh, there's snippets and everything. Like I like reading books. I'm a huge fan of that. And you always find something in a book that you think, oh, it either triggers a memory, or you're like, I didn't know anything about that. What's the best way to learn a subject? Go buy 25 books on it and just absolutely study it.
I remember when I first got into sales, I wanted to master it. I wanted to be the best at it, and I guess what I did is I read Covey, but I took copious notes, and I had my own reference points, and I used those in my first few years religiously. I was very clear about it, right? And that helped. I think I've still got them somewhere, but that was really, really cool. I thought that was, and it was always like a security blanket for me. Had it there.
Yeah.
I knew I had it there. And eventually, when I didn't need it, I thought, oh, that's cool. I probably got it now.
Well, just on that, what's been the biggest influence in your career? Or who
mentors. I had some pretty good mentors. I had some really, really good mentors to when you're young and brash and everyone keeps telling you you're great and making lots of money and doing basically anything you want. It's hard to contain that particular unit, right? Because they can be off, and we all are, right? We all really super successful ones got that trait. So mentors have kept me on the path, and they have been people that have I've gone to over the years to keep me focused on the things that are important. And that would be the most valuable thing. If you don't have a mentor, if you don't have, I've always found that you have people you learn from, regardless if they're rubbish or if they're really good. Rubbish ones, you learn what not to do, and the really good ones, you learn what to do. But mentors are really key. So I've been doing not formally. I refuse to do it formally, but I help people. I used to find that people ask if I won't help anyone. I won't just volunteer it. If they ask and they're genuine and they listen, I'll help them. If they don't, then I'm not interested, because people ask but then they don't listen. They think they've already got it nailed, or if you're not saying something that they want to hear, they don't listen. I haven't got time for that. Good luck. Go do what you need to. Good luck on your journey.
How would someone ask? How do you like to be approached? You like,
If I don't know a person, it's always going to be difficult, right? But I think an introduction is always good. People I've worked with in the past, and there've been lots of them over the years. They would just ask me, would I be prepared to help them out? They've got some issues around businesses. They thought they'd bounce it off me. People setting up businesses, people getting into even sales opportunities, large accounts, large areas that they're getting involved in. Get some feedback from me on that. And happy to do it.
No, that's good. It's a nice feeling, isn't it? And okay, so finally, last question. If money was no obstacle, because let's face it, we're all sales guys here, so we know what we want, but what would you be doing as a career?
My degree, I should have been a geologist, so I'm 1 year off from being a geologist. So I stopped. I changed courses. I ended up doing politics and economics of all things. But I guess I was heading in that direction, but I realised at an early stage that when I was in the middle of Australia, following rock formations in 45 degrees Celsius, this was not my chosen career path. So that's something I wouldn't do when you're given. If money was no object, what would I do? It's a great question. And to be honest, I honestly believe it'd be some sort of leadership role. I do love entrepreneurs setting up businesses and being successful in business, regardless if it's technology. So, and I've done that now a couple of times. They've all been technology, but I'm now in a couple investments that aren't true technology that I'm enjoying because I've got ownership in those companies. So that's a path I've kind of gone into over the last probably 20 years, but I would have probably, if I knew more at an earlier stage, I would have done that as opposed to IT.
Okay, so you just love business. It's a passion.
Yeah, it's good to, building something from little or nothing and watching it grow. It's exciting, and watching people benefit from that has been it's great. And with Exceed we grew to $300+ million in 9 years. That's we did the same thing with Prion. But to watch those people, I look and I'm so happy for all the people that we had over the years. They're all they're all done so well, also still so successful. And I get a buzz out of that to see how successful. Not to say that I had much influence in it, but just to know that they did it and they speak highly of the culture and highly of the ethics of the business and those things. I really get buzz out of that. Technology for me was a means to the end. I really, and probably people will, some tech heads may disagree, but at the end of the day, it's a means to an end. It's a means to solve a business problem. It's not, technology is not the be all and end all. It's just a mechanism to get there. So if you get too caught up in it, you're going to miss the boat. And that's kind of the idea. If you're just doing technology for the sake of technology, you're not going to do that well out of it. So, yeah.
Oh, anyway, so thank you so much for joining me today. I think certainly some of those insights will be very beneficial for the people out there. So thanks very much.